Okay, I'm in the midst of cleaning, and I ran across some added hardware, probably for a CD, player or something superfluous and unnecessary. Anyway, it was right up there like that. I managed to get one screw out, meaning that I got it halfway out and then it broke off. This screw head immediately broke off, so there's a tip of it sticking out, and this one is also still stuck in there, and then the head is gone. It's just stuck in there, and then this screw came out nicely, but this one is corroded. Needless to say, I've got some screws that are rusted and have broken off inside of there. I can't imagine they went all the way through the hole, so maybe I can just, shave them down and then, putty over them. How long were those screws in there, man? Come on. Look at these right here. These are terrible. They're just falling apart. Look at that. What I'm considering doing, there's going to be a wooden piece right here, and I'm going to not want to screw into the hole anywhere at all, regardless of whether or not it's okay to. I'm going to try to avoid that at all costs. I'm thinking it'll be better to run this wire down onto that wooden piece and screw it into that, instead of trying to do this. It looks terrible. I don't even know what that possibly could have been. There's just broken wires here, cut wires. See, that looks like a radio to me. The more I clean, the more I realize how little this boat has been taken care of. There's some extra screw bits I've found in places. I've cleaned up to the hatch and down, and I'm going to try to finish the V-berth. You can see that I've already done the ceiling. They're part of the ceiling. So I'm going to try to finish the V-berth today. I just wanted to make a note about the screws because that's not very good. But at least the hardware's out of the way for now. So it just looked nasty. Like how I can't wait to get rid of all of these. They will look good once they're gone. It's nice to know that this is probably all the lights that are necessary to have. Those are all in one piece. All of this stuff can go. I'm going to check this out. There's a little bit of water in here again on both sides. More on this side than on this side. There's just a little bit, so it still seems to be seeping from under there and from that hole back there. So continue to wash that out. Okay, so this is day 4. Probably gonna wrap it up right about now. I finished up the V-berth, and I feel pretty good about it. It's I did the floor and the ceiling and all that. Removed some hardware like you saw earlier. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's not perfect, but it's done, and that's good. I'm going to take care of as far as like painting wise, I'm definitely taking care of the exterior first. I'm not super concerned about the interior, seeing as it's not as important as water leaking in from outside, so as far as like repainting and sanding and repainting and all that, that's not exactly a priority for me as of right now. Or neither is beautification. However, cushionification, putting cushions everywhere, is important. But let me show you what I've done. As you can see here, it all looks pretty clean. I went and got these out of the garage. Looks like these are a couple of the ones that have been redone. And allows some storage in there. That's my tarp, and that's some more sponges. I know putting these down is a little premature, but it gives me a flat space. I have somewhere to put things on and to sit, and that's something, because there's no table right now and there's nowhere to sit, and that's a space that's now a thing, you know, it's not just, it doesn't look grimy anymore. Beneath here is the spongy thing for ballast, which I'm sure, right today, as opposed to yesterday, it feels dry, which is great. But I'm sure there's still water in it somewhere, so I'm going to leave it off for the most part, so that it can continue to evaporate. But for the purposes of the video and a completed look, that's what it'll look like. I also put the this piece of board up here. I'm thinking I'm gonna drill those holes out and put bolts in them instead of just screws. I think that'll probably be able to hold it a little more solid and not really worry about those screws up there. I don't think that would be necessary. But also, as for the completed effect, that's up there. The chain locker, I believe that's what it's called, even though it doesn't have a hatch that goes to the deck. I guess it still would be technically called a chain locker. I did this wall up till, you know, right about there, and finished up the ceiling around the hatch, and then did the ceiling up to the cord here. And as you can see, I followed that across and then down. And then I kind of stopped right there. I stopped a little bit past where the V-berth goes because I want to try putting in the blockers that go up here, the wooden panels that go right there. I want to see what those look like in here. I'm about to go fetch them, and we'll see what they look like. Okay, so I just put the panels in, and it would appear that these were not refinished like the other panels were. But those were all the panels that you sit on, and these are upward panels. I don't know why they refinished all of them except these. But they didn't. Have a look at them here. They look pretty good. They're just, you know, they fit right in there, and they help to kind of create another space in the boat. There they are. So they look pretty good. I suppose somewhere in the future I'd like to refinish them so they look a little nicer, or make new ones. Probably just refinish these. It leaves a little space up there so wires can go through, and behind it too, which is nice. It's not, you know, too terribly flush, and it still fits in there pretty good, like that. You know, which is good. You know, it would appear that, you know, you screw it in here to this thing, and down here it screws into the seat. But in all honesty, I'm probably going to make new holes. You know, fill in the old holes and make new holes in different places, so I can get a, you know, a nice firm grip. And probably do bolts, like I said, instead of screws, because the other side, the seat facing this way, is just, you know, fiberglass, so I can bolt through that and hold it together with some nice big washers. That'll probably be a more solid choice rather than just screws. A couple things I noticed I'm not really sure about is on both of them, right underneath the upper shrouds. This goes to the upper shroud, which is not attached to it right now, but still it goes to the upper shroud, and you can tell there used to be something right here that was screwed in pretty solidly, and you can tell on the other side, yeah, you know, some big bolts. So maybe that was added security to the upper shroud. See, notice that this place is the same. Here's where the upper shroud comes down, and there's more bolts for that as well. Maybe that is just coincidence that they happen to be at the same spot, and maybe it's not. So do do a little bit of research on that and see if I can find out anything. They look pretty good. And it's, you know, I like having them up, and it makes it kind of look like a real boat, almost. And, yeah, it's all clean back here. The ceilings are all clean. I cleaned the hatch bottom. That looks nice and up around it. One thing to note is this thing, which I'm still not entirely sure what it is or what it does. But it fills the other day when I took the water out of it, I think it was yesterday, it was it was full, but you could still see this thing, so it was about filled up to here. And it had been like that since I bought it, so it didn't overfill as if it were a hole in the bottom. However, I soaked all the water out yesterday, and when I came back there was some water in it, and I soaked it out earlier today, and now there's water in it. So there's water coming into here from somewhere. And it, like I said, it could be maybe behind all here, or from under here, or maybe this ballast thing is seeping into there. Who knows? Who knows where it's coming from? But it's in there, and I have no idea what that thing actually is or does. Since there's a little, a little thing, maybe you pull it out, but it's not really moving and it doesn't twist. So I don't know what it is. I'll have to do some research on that. I put the two panels, there's one panel goes here and one panel goes here. That's for the bed. And it was two panels, so there's obviously the crack was right here between them, and it was very weak in that area. So maybe that's what, see there's a line here. Maybe there was a board kind of, jutting out a little bit for it to rest on. That seems likely. So that's another thing to consider. Or maybe, something sat here and stood up and held it. That's also possible. Probably this theory more likely. Right here is where the marine toilet would go. And so that's a nice little space for that. Or storage, options. I think it turned out alright. You can tell there's still, there's still dirt places that the vinegar wouldn't get off. Some places are cleaner than others. But I'm sure in the end, not immediately, but in the end, I'm going to sand it down and repaint it. So, that's the fact that there's still a little bit of mold, a little bit of dirt there is inconsequential. When I was cleaning these chain plates, check them out. You can tell that, let's see if we can get a good view of this. Oh, there we go, yeah. So this is a chain plate. This goes up to a stanchion to hold up the lifelines. That's what this is for. But anyway, it looks pretty solid and looks good. This one bolt here is all rusted up, but as far as the whole thing as a whole, it looks pretty good. This holds up a shroud, and that looks okay, but you can tell the bolt's starting to rust, as is the nut and the washer, so that might need to be replaced. The same thing over here. That one looks, okay, but a little bit of rust here and there, but the bolt looks much better, so maybe that one's been replaced recently. Same thing as this one here. Maybe there's one or two that look a little rusty, but as a whole, it looks pretty good. So it would appear that everything looks okay so far, and still no major problems found. A little more cleaning has been done. Now just the midship, the main living area, needs to be done, which I'm excited about, because once that's clean, then it'll just kind of feel more like a real space, and I can move on. Which I think I've decided that the next step is going to be to start puttying in all the holes, and there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them, and I'm gonna putty them all in. And I think that'll add a few more years to the boat. Maybe not make it invincible, but it'll certainly add add some years to the boat. For instance, this one right here is really bad, and it leaks after a rain. And you can tell, I think this is where they hung the curtain. There's supposed to be a curtain that comes down and, you know, covers this whole area to make kind of a wall. These little things need to be filled in. And there's just a ton of them. There's just a ton of them everywhere. And they all need to be filled in and redone. That would be my next step, to fill holes in. But I'm going to finish cleaning the interior first. George and I are going to go down to the fiberglass place and get some specialized fiberglass sandpaper for sanding fiberglass. I guess I'm pretty much just going to sand the entire deck, and then we're going to repaint it because there's just cracking. Cracking is pretty bad interior-wise, but exterior, it's twice as bad. It's horrible. So I think where I'm going to sand, which will help me find the holes, fill in the holes, then, you know, put on some marine grade, you know, gel coat or whatever is the best thing to put on there. And that'll just make it solid. Then it can start being a real boat again. You know, then it'll look better, and we can just start, because then we'll know that the deck is more solid and things won't be leaking anymore, which is great. And we can start worrying about rigging and the engine and sails, which I haven't looked at the jib yet. It was a little windy today, plus I just didn't want to. V-berth is done, which I'm really proud about, and there's no reason that I can't start thinking about putting a cushion in here and starting to sleep in here, because the weather is just being really great, and it's getting better all the time as we approach summer. But I really want to get done with the cleaning first, and then probably make these cushions in the V-berth first. These walls I put in, I need to work on, you know, making those look good, and kind of come up with a plan for those. Anyway, day 4. I'm going to put a stop to day 4 and get to go inside, have a meal, and then get to work. And then I'll have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off to make some headway. I'd like to be done with the cleaning by tomorrow, and I think it can be done by tomorrow. The interior cleaning, and then I can start sanding and filling holes. And then we can fiberglass the bigger holes, the bigger problems, and then we can start worrying about paint. See, I'm getting way ahead of myself now, but that's kind of the next step. But as of right now, finish cleaning. Okay, well, day 4 complete. See you tomorrow.